I tell them suckers to move. I ain't in the mood. Got me with the crew, let me do what I do. I tell them suckers to poof. Got me in the booth, lobby in the truth. Let me do what I do. Yeah, remember when the U come through, enter the music jungle. Or back with the block, I used to rock, I used to fumble. I still rock down, drop the ball when I want to. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny.
My name's Alberto.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, man.
And you guys are tuned in to the OnlyFights podcast.
Episode 38.
Word, let's get it.
Another action-packed weekend.
A super action-packed weekend, especially, considering last weekend was actually pretty flat. But, geez, man.
And
we had
all day long, right? Like
so many fights, man. Yeah.
From early in the morning till late at night.
Yeah, man. Early in the morning, we had, over here in the States, they had a good fighter over there in Japan. You guys might have heard of him. His name is Triple G. Taking on Ryota Murata. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty good card, man. A pretty good card to wake up at like 5 in the morning and watch it. You know what I mean? But I caught on to the co-main. You had Hunso Nakatani taking on Ryota Yamauchi. Fight in the flyweight division. Nakatani, man, not to get him confused with the one in the lightweight division that fought like Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez and them.
Right.
Was a smaller guy. But fights kind of like him, man. He was just simply too much for Yamauchi, man. He was outclassing him and walking him down. He hurt him in pretty much like every round. Just in the 8th round, the referee had enough and would stop the fight. It was a good stoppage, man. Yamauchi was really, really getting lit up. But that was the co-main. And then, moving on to Triple G versus Ryota Murata. This was a really anticipated fight. We haven't seen Triple G. Actually, I didn't take to account that Murata had a even longer layoff than Triple G has. So, but I knew he was still going to be a dangerous opponent. I mean, he suffered 2 losses and avenged them both. So, and Triple G, his 40th birthday being the day before the fight.
Yep.
So, day of the fight, he's 40 years old and along with the layoff. So, comes into this fight and the first, I would say like 4 rounds were very competitive. I had it even after 4, giving each guy 2 rounds. And, Triple G just looked a little slower. Didn't look as strong, seemed to get bothered by some of those punches, especially to the body.
Yeah.
He seemed to really that body that doesn't seem to be what it used to be in his last couple fights. But after about like in the 5th round, he really starts to pick it up, and Murata wouldn't have any answers, and in the 6th round he landed a hard right hand, and the mouthpiece would go flying, and what was it, the 9th round, Triple G would get the stoppage.
Yep.
He would catch him with another right, and Murata looked lost and goes down. In comes the towel, and that's that.
Yeah.
Triple G gets the 9th round TKO. I guess this sets up that trilogy with Canelo Alvarez, which I'm not too crazy about.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know that this fight was gonna be. I don't know he was still gonna fight at 160. So I'm not sure if he's going up. I doubt Canelo's going down to 160 to fight him. So I'm just not crazy about the idea,
So that fight wouldn't be for any belts, or it would be for Canelo's belt?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, because Triple G now, Murata was the WBA champion, so now Triple G, he unified. He got 2 belts now.
Yeah.
And hey man, you got Charlo and you got Andre. If Andre is staying at 160, I'm not 100% on that, but those are options that I prefer.
Yeah.
But it was a good fight, though. It was a really good fight. Murata, he really showed a lot of grit and toughness, and it took his corner to throw in the towel. They showed a lot of respect afterwards. Triple G actually gave him his walkout robe.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he gave him like a version of the belt or something back too. I saw something where in the back in the locker room he went back and like handed him the belt, but I guess it wasn't his belt. It was like another version of the belt or something.
It could have been Murata's belt because so I guess the way it works is like if you okay, so if the champion loses his
Hmm.
belt, um, well, they were both champions, so one of them was gonna lose their belt. Uh, like you keep your belt. You know, once you win a belt, that's yours forever.
Yeah, it's like a trophy, right?
When you win, when somebody beats you, they get a new belt made. So oftentimes they get to take your belt, take pictures and stuff like that. But um, yeah, they get brand new belts made. That's why,
Yeah.
like,
So he's probably giving him back his.
right.
All
So
right.
that's probably what was going on. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's dope though.
Yeah, that was cool.
A lot of respect.
Hell yeah.
Um, good good early morning card that was on the zone, and I'll just stick with the zone. Later on that night, we had Ryan Garcia taking on Emmanuel Tagoe, with a really good undercard. Marlon Esparza taking on Naoka Fuyoka, and they're both champions
Hmm.
in their flyweight division, women's flyweight. Man, these women, female fighters, man, boxers, they always, you know, come to scrap,
Yeah.
and this was a really good scrap. Two judges after 10 rounds. It was a pretty competitive fight, but I thought Marlon Esparza did enough to secure a pretty dominant victory. I did think that she lost a couple rounds here, which I thought it was unfair that two judges scored it 100-90.
Damn.
One judge had it 97-93. That's more that's closer to the story of the fight.
Yeah.
But 100-90, not given Fuyoka, who was a champion in this fight, a single round was just ludicrous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, Esparza gets the victory. The judges get it right. They just two of them just I don't know. It was little rough. Um, in the co-main, you have Shane Mosley Jr. taking on Gabe Rosado, and pretty good fight. Gabe Rosado, warrior that he is, always comes to scrap. And after 10 rounds, he didn't win a single one. He, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
he did manage to test Shane Mosley Jr. Did I mention Jr.? It wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But a fun fight to watch. Though one-sided. Gabe Rosado always in there.
Hmm.
Throwing the right hands and stuff like that. And in the main event, of course, the return of King Ryan Garcia,
Yeah.
coming, into this fight. I think his last fight was before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
It might have been like early 2019.
2020.
Yeah.
Right. It was like I believe it was like the first, like January 1st or 2nd, something like that in
Hmm.
2020, and he took on Luke Campbell, who's a pretty elite fighter in his division.
Yeah.
Took on Luke Campbell and got dropped. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But got right back up. Got right back up and fought and stopped him with a body shot.
Yeah.
So, I always give him a lot of credit for that. I feel like people don't, people forget that with everything that he's been through. Nonetheless, he comes back. He takes on Emmanuel Tagoe, who, was a pretty respectable opponent in his own right. He comes into this fight 32 wins with 15 knockouts, one loss, which was his pro debut. So he loses his pro debut and then goes on pretty much undefeated.
Yeah.
Takes on Ryan Garcia and, doesn't really do much to try to win the fight, right? He's kind of just
Yeah.
trying to survive. Ryan's walking this dude down, and he looked fast, he looked strong. He drops him in the second round with an uppercut. Tagoe doesn't really, doesn't open up much. He's just trying to survive. I think he lands a nice left hook in like the 10th round,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, and yeah, he like I said, he was just trying to survive, and Ryan would hurt
Yeah.
him later on in the fight, but
Yeah. You could tell the speed was just like overwhelming for him. He had no answer for it.
the speed was good, but I just wasn't happy with his inaccuracy.
Yeah.
Especially when he had Tagoe hurt late in the fight, and was just headhunting and didn't go to the body. Just kind of kept throwing the right hand and winging the left hook, and it is what it is. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you didn't know, Ryan Garcia is coming into this fight with a new trainer in Joe Goosen. A very respectable trainer.
Yeah.
You know, trained Chico Corrales, and so who's similar built. You know what I mean? Tall, thin, skinny, lightweight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, whatever. Not a bad fight is what I'm trying to say for a guy who's been out of the ring for as long as he has and coming into it with a new trainer. Um, and after 12 rounds, he gets a pretty much shutout on the scorecards, and it's good for him to get the rounds in, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if anything, that went 12 rounds, and yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, not as exciting as any of his other fights, but all his fights have been exciting up until. So
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not gonna dog him for one boring fight.
Yeah.
Um.
So do you think he's ready to, maybe challenge one of the top guys, like one of the top 5 guys or something? Or you think they'll give him another fight like this?
I think he needs another, a step up, but not,
not yet.
not the winner of Devin Haney and Cambosos, certainly. Give him like a Linares or another Luke Campbell like opponent.
Yeah.
Um, did he fight Gamboa yet? I think he's like the only one who hasn't fought Gamboa yet.
Yeah.
Give him, give him Gamboa. Yeah, like I said, not the most action-packed fight. But what was an action-packed fight was on Showtime. You had Sebastion Fundora taking on Erickson Lubin. That was a war.
Yeah.
That was a war. Real quick, I'll just mention that Tony Harrison on the co-main, he dominated Sergio Garcia, who was the last person Sebastion Fundora fought.
Mhm.
And went the distance with him, though didn't really do much in that fight. This one, like I said, man, it was a war, man.
What weight is it?
This is the 154-pound
Okay.
junior middleweight. So Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano, those guys are gonna fight each other pretty soon. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but I'll get that by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, Erickson, Sebastion Fundora is 6'6", very
Huge.
tall for that weight class. I'm sure you guys seen the the face to face, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, that was insane.
That was crazy.
People really asked me if that was photoshopped. I was like, nah, man, that's what it is. So, yeah, from start to finish, these guys are just going to war, man. I think that Fundora was getting the best of it, especially obviously in round 2 when he lands a beautiful uppercut and hurts Lubin, drops him. But then Fundora goes down in the 7th.
Yeah.
Just such an action-packed fight. Throughout the whole thing, Fundora was getting the better. Like I said, but it was Lubin who was up on the scorecards.
Yeah.
He was winning after 9 rounds. It was 90, 96, 94 on two judges' scorecards, and then 95, 95 even. But if you saw Lubin's face, which we also posted that was insane, man. He looked like, he literally looked like he looked like Martin when he fought Tommy Hearns.
And he gets beat the fuck up. Yeah.
Like, what the hell? He looked like I'm sure a lot of you guys probably peeped that Kanye West documentary, and they get really in depth with his car accident.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked like Kanye West when he had that car accident.
His face is all swollen.
Oh, it was insane, man. You don't play boxing, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So I'm not too mad at the stoppage. I think they had 3 more rounds, so even if he was ahead, I think Sebastion Fundora would have regained the lead after 12 if he would have made it that far. Yeah, man, it was a brutal fight, but hats off to both fighters because that was
super entertaining,
action packed, and so far fight of the year candidates.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of boxing, and I'll just cap off with what went on ESPN in terms of boxing. We had Mikaela Myer taking on Jenninfer Hann. Now, I didn't watch the undercard on this. Just breeze through that. Andrew Maloney gets a stoppage over Gilberto Mendoza in the 8th round. In an 8th round fight, so in the last round. Giovanni Santalian gets a seventh round stoppage against Giovannis Brasa, and Mikaela Myer taking on Jenninfer Hann. Um, Another action-packed fight from Mikaela Myer. Not quite as action-packed as Hamadou's fight, but that's gonna be hard to top that one.
Yeah.
She looked good, man. She looked really good. She did happen to suffer her first cut as a professional, but she bloodied up her opponent about 3 times as bad, maybe more. Yeah, just a dominant victory, man. She outlanded her 192 to 63 punches after in 10 2-minute rounds. Almost got the stoppage late in the fight, which elected her to bring up the topic about longer 3-minute rounds for women so that they can have enough time to finish the job, because they only get 2/3 of the time allotted for men,
Which makes no sense, yeah.
but it was a good fight. It was a good performance from Mikaela Myer. She said she wants to take on Alicia Baumgardner, and we last seen her knock out Terry Harper in a really brutal fashion, and she's scheduled to take on Edith Matisse next week. So she wants to fight her if she beats her.
Yeah,
that would be a good fight.
And then she also mentioned that she would want to take on the winner of the Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor fight. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, she's good, but she's what, 6-0? She's 6-0 now, so I don't see. I think she needs a little more experience.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely had a good performance.
Right.
But yeah.
Right, against Jenninfer Hann, who also lost to Katie Taylor. So we'll see what's up though, man. If they want to fight though, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Down to watch that stuff.
Women's boxing is getting more and more exciting.
Yeah. I think kind of like when the talent in like UFC with the female fighters,
it takes a while to catch up.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is what's happening in women's boxing. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, that was a lot of boxing. So I try to just condense it really, really quick. But that was pretty much all that took place this weekend.
And then on top of that, we had a pretty big UFC card.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was a pretty good card overall. I pretty much started it from the beginning, so I'll go through most of these fights. The first fight, Julio Arce took on Daniel Santos. Julio Arce is a 32-year-old Colombian fighter. He's pretty good. His last fight he lost against Song Yadong, who's becoming a contender himself. So that's that wasn't too bad of a loss. Before that, he had a pretty good win streak going.
Yeah.
Daniel Santos, 27-year-old Brazilian. This was his UFC debut. He's fighting at the same gym as Charles Oliveira, the lightweight champ. He actually had Charles in his corner, so that was pretty interesting. And he pretty much looked like almost like a young version of Oliveira. You know what I mean? Like his style, at least like his stylistically. Really good fight. Julio Arce gets the unanimous decision. Santos came out really aggressive, just like Oliveira, but also like Oliveira, he gets hit a lot. You know what I mean? Like they just go forward and they really aggressive. This kid was also throwing a lot of spinning attacks and shit.
Right.
He looked like he's gonna be a really entertaining guy to see, but he just didn't have much patience. Like the first round, Julio Arce just was super patient. You could tell he was just like making his reads and stuff. Great footwork. Like he was really, not letting him get backed up, since he was, Santos is pressuring the whole time. So he did a really good job moving around and, avoiding all those big punches. Got hit a couple times, but, nothing too crazy. Was able to roll with almost everything. And in the second round, you can tell that he, got the timing down and stuff. And then he started countering Santos and really started picking him apart. And Santos, didn't have an answer for it. But he kept moving forward. It was pretty impressive. The kid got a hell of a chin on him. He kept moving forward and just pretty much took got picked apart pretty much. It was just like a real impressive performance by Julio Arce. So, he's only 32. I think he could still, that's bantamweight division. I think he could still make his way up.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a good fight. Next fight, had a heavyweight fight. Alexei Oleinik versus Jared Vanderaa. Alexei Oleinik, he's 44 years old.
Oh,
Russian guy. His first fight was in 1996. His first professional fight. His record is 59-16.
Jesus.
That's crazy. And he got his 60th win last night. So now he's 60-16. He took so the guy he took on Jared Vandera. I never heard of him. 29-year-old American. He's 12-7. And Oleinik is known for his submissions, and he's known for like real awkward submissions. Like he has his signature submission is like the Von Flue choke, and he does it from the bottom. Like he does it while he's mounted, while somebody's mounted on top of him. He like I'm not even sure how he does it. Like none of his chokes are like traditional. So the one he pulled off last night is called a scarf hold. That basically like it's not even a choke. He basically had his face, and he was just shoving his face into his armpit, covering his nose and his mouth, and he couldn't breathe. And his squeeze is so tight that when the guy let go of him, he went right to his corner and started puking in his bucket.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy. And yeah, it was like it was wild. And that happened like a minute into what was it? Yeah, like 2 minutes into the round, into the first round. He was able to get him down, had him in full mount, and then moved to the side and pretty much had him like it looked almost like a headlock, but it was just like reversed, almost like a reverse headlock, and he was just shoving his face into his armpit. And that's a big old man. Like you could tell he got like that crazy old man strength. Like
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that grip is like. So yeah, man, that's crazy. His 60th fight. I think they said that's like his 40th submission or something. Not all of them are in the UFC. So I think Charles Oliveira still has the record for most submissions in the UFC. I know Oleinik, he's one of those guys that fought like in all the other promotions before coming to UFC. I'm pretty sure he was a little older when he came. But yeah, that was a really good fight. Really impressive. At 44 years old, he was still choking people out. Next fight was a welterweight fight. This was the first fight of the regular prelims. Mickey Gall took on another new guy, Mike Mallet. Mike Mallett's 30-year-old Canadian. This is his UFC debut. He came up through the Contender Series. He had a really big knockout on there. Mickey Gall, I'm surprised to see his record's only 7-4. I feel like I've seen him fight a lot in the UFC. He must be one of those guys that got in the UFC like real early and probably had most of his fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
Cause I've seen him fight a lot. He's 30. They're both 30 years old. So fun matchup. This fight did not last very long. And in the short time, it was action packed. Both guys had their moments. Both guys stumbled, they wobbled each other in the first round. And then Mallet, caught Mickey Gall with a huge hook and just like folded him. I think that's the one I posted on. Actually, no, I posted on my page by accident. I meant to post it on the pod page. But that was a crazy knockout. It was wild. He folded him with the hook and then just jumped on him, and the fight was stopped right away. The next fight was a women's bantamweight fight. We had Aspen Ladd taking on Raquel Pennington. Aspen Ladd, I was surprised to see she's ranked number 4. I feel like the UFC is really trying to push her to be like a big name. I feel like she's given so many opportunities but hasn't really capitalized. And her style isn't very convincing either. Like she took on Raquel Pennington. She's 13-9. She has quite a few losses. She's been fighting for a while. She's ranked number 7 herself. And Aspen Ladd seemed kind of stiff. Like she seemed like even the commentators mentioned that she has a lot of like unnecessary movement. Like she was kind of like putting her hands up and down and like
Yeah.
And then she's moving her head, but she's literally just moving her head like side to side, where it's just like perfect. Like you can time it perfectly. You know what I mean? It's not like off beat or like any kind of different movement. It was really weird. Like it's just like anybody can judge it. Like Raquel Pennington was pretty much picking her apart. And Aspen Ladd is known for like kind of her grappling strength. And, I don't remember her being able to take her down at all. I don't know if she did. And if she did, Pennington did a great job of getting back up pretty much. Mm-hmm. And Pennington ends up getting the win by decision over Aspen Ladd. I think also those rankings are kind of weird in the bantamweight division because Amanda, pretty much wiped that division out the last couple years. But and Raquel Pennington already fought Amanda too, and she's a little bit up there in age. So I don't know if she's gonna make another run for the belt, but that was a pretty good performance by her. Another loss for Aspen Ladd. I think this is her second loss. So no, this would be her third. She was 9-2, so now she's 9-3. So yeah, that was that one. Next fight, it was a pretty fun fight. This is basically a grappling match. Anthony Hernandez versus Josh Firm. No,
Oh yeah.
Frem. Excuse me. Josh Frem was also making his UFC debut. I feel like there was a lot of debuts last night. Anthony Hernandez, he seems kind of small for the middleweight division. His nickname is Fluffy. So I think he's just that doesn't cut weight pretty much, because he seemed pretty small, and it didn't help also that Frem was like 6'4". He looked huge. But, Anthony Hernandez pretty much took him down and, did what he wanted. It was pretty much like submission attempt after submission attempt. I mean, props to Frem for not getting caught. But he didn't get caught in anything. But, yeah, it was pretty much just like chain grappling the whole time, like from one submission to the other the whole time. I think there was a couple minutes in the second round that Hernandez seemed like he kind of took a little time off. And then Frem was kind of controlling the grappling exchanges for a little bit. But then the third round, Hernandez just pretty much took over again and just, like I said, just rolling him around on the ground however he wanted, trying to submit him. But he did a good job of not getting submitted. Hernandez got the decision win. That was a pretty fun fight. I'm excited to see that kid keep fighting. This is his second big win now. I forget who it was that he fought last, but he submitted like a big name like fighter that is known for their jiu-jitsu, so it was like a big deal. But yeah, so next fight we got welterweight fight, another top prospect, Ian Gary, making his second UFC appearance. The Irish kid, he made it. I actually saw him make his debut in Madison Square Garden earlier this year, and then he took on Darian Weeks. Never seen him fight, but he was pretty good. 28 years old. Gary is only 24 years old, so he's really young, and he's really tall for welterweight. He's 6'3". The other guy was only 5'11", so he definitely had the length advantage. But Weeks did a really good job of pressuring him, the whole fight, and not really letting him do much. He wasn't able to get into any kind of flow or anything. Pretty much the first round, he didn't do much. It wasn't, I would say, to the third round that he really turned it on. Gary was catching Weeks every once in a while, probably catching him cleaner. But it was a very technical fight. It wasn't a whole lot of action, but you could tell it was a lot of feints, a lot of it was real technical. But yeah, so Gary finally opens up a little more in the third round after his corner pretty much tells him, you have to, you can't let that go to judges. You have to do something. And yeah, he did. So he did what he had to do and was able to get the decision win. He had a big knockout in his debut. So, I think a lot of people were expecting a little bit more out of him. But, that was good experience, to be uncomfortable. Because that's pretty much how I saw it. He looked uncomfortable pretty much the whole fight. Like, he was he was backing up and wasn't. I feel like he wasn't able to get in his groove. And that first fight in his first performance, you could tell like he got in that like flow state where he was just like landing things and dodging punches. Weeks, made it hard on him. So that was a pretty good fight. That was the last fight for the prelims. And then so the main card. This first fight was kind of weird. I don't know how this ended up being on the main card. Well, actually, we do know this. There was actually quite a few fights that got canceled on this card. Kelvin Gastelum was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight, and that fight got canceled. I think like a couple, not even a week. I want to say like maybe 4 or 5 days beforehand.
Yeah.
That Kelvin Gastelum said he suffered an injury, but everybody was like, it's fight week. How you get an injury? Like nobody's training. You know what I mean? Like, So I don't know. That was kind of weird. Who knows what was going on? I hate to say it, but he's kind of known for having weight cut issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just was way over what he was supposed to be and was like, you know what, I don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, Gastelum seems to be a kind of a not a best position right now in his career. So, he could be
It happens.
Yeah. So I mean, it's sad, but that's kind of how what it looks like right now. So the first fight, we had these two old guys pretty much. Vince Pichel took on Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen is 37 years old and he's 11-0. He's been in the UFC for like 5 years or something, but he's only had like 4 fights. I guess he's had like a lot of injuries in between.
At that age, you'll get injured a lot.
Yeah. So but it seemed kind of weird. Like this guy really like the way he was talking and the way they were talking about him was like he was like a top prospect, like 11-0, like he's an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling.
Yeah, he's like the Blair Cobbs of the UFC.
Yeah, right. Like it was pretty funny. And then the guy he was fighting looked like a '80s porn star, pretty much.
Yeah, man,
He had a big stash.
bush.
Yeah, pretty much. It looked like it had fucking legs that was fucking crawling out of his mouth and shit.
My God.
And surprisingly, that guy is 14-2. He only got 2 losses. I was like, that's kind of weird.
And he was older, right? He was like 40.
He was 39, and Madsen was 37. Like I said, they both just looked like dads, and it pretty much looked like 2 dads fighting. They were both like, I mean, I guess the matchup made sense. I feel like their timing was kind of the same level. They were both pretty equally as slow. Madsen, even though he's known for his wrestling, he seemed to just use like a lot of energy trying to wrestle, trying to take him down, because he seemed to get pretty gassed by the second round.
Yeah.
Pichel actually takes him down. And, being like an Olympic wrestler, that's kind of like a big deal. I think they looked it up and they said that was the first time he had been taken down in his career.
Wow.
So that was kind of weird. Madsen ends up getting the win by decision. I think that fight could have went the other way, really.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
I thought the porn star should have got the victory.
he definitely should have won, yeah. But yeah, anyway, so that guy stays undefeated.
I don't think we see any of these guys, being at top.
I know, but it's so funny because you look at it on paper, you're like 12-0. You know what I mean? Like in the lightweight division, you're like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah.
But then they kept mentioning too that his last fight was against Clay Guida, and they kept talking about that performance as if like Clay Guida was like some guy to like, you know what I mean?
That's another guy who's like in his 40s, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they're just pairing him up against other old men, and this guy, I think, is a little delusional. Kind of thinks that he's making a title run. But it was funny. So yeah, and then after that we had pretty much all really good fights. The next fight was a women's strawweight fight. Mackenzie Dern took on Tisha Torres. Mackenzie Dern's coming up, making a name for herself. She's 12-2, only 29 years old, Brazilian. She has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. She won all the tournaments that you could win in jiu-jitsu pretty much. There's a video of her that I seen that they showed in one of the promos that she and when she was doing a jiu-jitsu tournament, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if you say fight. She grappled a chick that was really big. Like she must have been like 200 pounds or something. Like massive chick. Like she was ripped too. I think she actually fights MMA. I forget her name. But she's huge
Right.
chick. And so she faces her like in a jiu-jitsu match, and it just looks crazy. It looks like a little kid facing a giant. Like it's pretty wild. I'm not sure who won that, but just like the clip of it just looked crazy. And then Tisha Torres, she's been around for a while. She's only 32 years old. I thought she was a little older. She's ranked number 7, and Mackenzie Dern's ranked number 5. It was a pretty good fight. Dern comes out super aggressive, is trying to take her down right away. Tisha Torres is really strong. Her build, like physically, she's like ripped, like. And I think that really helped her a lot in this fight because I think it was in the second round, Dern, finally gets her down. Oh no, she actually pulls guard. She pulls guard on her, and she catches her in a Kimura, and she has a Kimura pretty much locked in, and she's pretty much trying to break her arm, and I think it's that muscle around Tisha Torres' arms that really helped her out. You know what I mean? Like, because she pretty much had that Kimura in for a while. She had it standing, and then she had it on the ground for a little bit. And that was pretty much I think the biggest factor was that the grappling in the second round, that Mackenzie Dern pretty much dominated her on the ground, and had a couple submission attempts, had her in a couple dangerous positions, but wasn't able to get it. And then the second round, the third round, they were it was pretty much standing, and I think the second round was the deciding factor pretty much, and Mackenzie Dern gets the decision win. I think all these fights went to decision except for the main event. On the main card at least, and then the next fight was the one that that I knew was gonna be fight of the night. This is probably gonna contend for fight of the year. Gilbert Burns taking on Kazmat Chimaev. Man, this was the fight we were waiting for, and like I said in the post, like we had a lot of questions were gonna be answered, and I think we got all.
Yeah, it was a big step up, man.
For sure.
Chimaev.
And all the questions got answered pretty much, like. You know, is he the is he the real deal? He's definitely the real deal, but he's also human. We saw him get hit a lot.
Oh yeah.
So and I think that's the best thing for him to get that experience. But yeah, man, I think a lot of people are counting out Gilbert Burns. Like even just the odds, like the odds were like disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like Gilbert Burns is the number 2 ranked welterweight in the UFC. Like that's pretty wild. The way they had the odds. Even Dana White said that in the post fight conference. He was like, I couldn't believe how they were disrespecting him with the odds.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. So yeah, Gilbert Burns only lost at welterweight is when he challenged for the belt, and Usman beat him, and he dropped Usman in that first round when they fought. So Gilbert Burns got power, and his background's jiu-jitsu as well, which I don't think a lot of people know that, because they were saying that Kazma was gonna ragdoll him, throw him around, and that didn't happen. The first round, I think Kazma goes for the takedown, and he might have got him down a couple times, but Gilbert Burns got right back up. Gilbert Burns is also strong. Like, he's not as tall. Chimaev is definitely a lot taller, but Gilbert Burns is really stocky, and he's also really strong himself. He was doing a really good job at fighting off the wrestling, and then after that, you could tell like Chimaev just thought he went in there thinking he was gonna take his head off, because that's exactly what he was doing. He was just going in there and swinging, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because the main thing that everybody was saying about this kid, like all the stories that people were talking, all the gym stories and stuff, was that, oh, this guy never gets tired, this and that. And you can't simulate like actual fights in training.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like he's never been in that position, and that second round came and he was getting tired. Like I think the first round was pretty close. I would say Chimaev probably won the first round. Second round, I think it becomes a little more competitive, and Gilbert Burns starts landing. He starts landing big punches when Chimaev gets tired.
Yeah.
And I think he dropped him once. I think he dropped him once at the end of that second round. I saw Teddy Atlas post something pretty cool. Did you see he tweeted something like during that fight?
Nah.
He was like, after the second round, he's like, all right, he's like, we found out, we know the talent that Chimaev has on the outside. He's like, now we're about to find out what he got on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty dope. Like,
Sounds like Teddy.
he said it perfectly. Like, he always has those like quotes where like
Yeah.
he just hits it on the head.
Yeah, he's real poetical.
Yeah. So yeah, that third round came. Both guys were tired, but they just went to war, man. Both guys had their moments. Chimaev, seemed like he was finally calming down a little bit in the third. I mean, obviously he was tired. After that second round, his corner was like yelling at him. They were pretty much telling like what the fuck are you doing? Like, and after the fight, Chimaev kind of says that his corner was telling him to be more technical. You know what I mean? Like, why are you trying to take this guy's head off? And that's why he got tired pretty much. He was just, throwing haymakers in that first round and got tired. I think it's a really good experience. It definitely humbled him too. Like in the post fight conference, he gives it all up to Gilbert Burns, and
Yeah.
it was really cool. I can't wait to watch him fight again. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in. He got you could tell he really loves it too though. At the end he was all bloody and shit, and he was like I'm bleeding, I feel pain, and I love this shit. But yeah, man. Like I said, I think a lot of the answers were a lot of the questions were answered. I don't think he's ready for a title shot. I think if that's Usman in there, if he was fighting Usman last night, I think Usman finishes him. Like when he was getting hit by those shots by Burns in the second round.
Yeah.
I think if that was Usman, I think Usman could finish him.
Yeah, he needs some more work.
Even they're talking about him fighting Kobe Covington next.
I think Burns could have finished him if this was a 5-round fight.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I said the same thing. That would have
Yeah.
been interesting to see it go a little longer. And that was Chimaev's that was the first time he ever went to a third round. I think he barely made it into a second round. I think the one time he went to a second round, he ended it very early in the second. So, this was an absolute war. Dana White said that he was gonna give Burns his win money, because they pretty much only get half their money if they lose. So he said that he was gonna give him his full show and pay money or win money. That was pretty cool. And then, like I said, they were kind of Dana White said that most likely he's gonna do Kobe Covington against Chimaev next. Kobe's ranked number 1, and Burns was ranked number 2. He just beat the number 2 guy. And I think Kobe Covington's probably looking at that fight and was probably a little like, I'm sure it was a little more encouraging for him to see his flaws and shit.
Yeah.
And like I said, we saw he's human. They're talking about this kid like, he can't be hurt. He doesn't get tired. He's definitely a dog though. Like he definitely is the real deal. He's definitely gonna be around for a while. And either way, like I said, he beat the number two welterweight in the world. It's super impressive, man. This guy basically came out of nowhere last year, and now he just beat the number 2 guy. So really really good fight. Definitely fight of the night. No argument there. The next fight was the co-main bantamweight title fight. Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan 2. Unifying pretty much. Peter Yan was an interim champ, and Sterling is the official champ. He just he had that neck surgery so he couldn't fight. This fight was scheduled before, and then he decided to go with the neck injury. Supposedly he had like a lingering neck injury from a long time. And I can't even front. I was definitely one of the people that developed a lot of hate for Sterling during that time, because he was just like talking so much shit when obviously he didn't have a great performance the first time they fought. He pretty much got broken in that fight, and ended up winning with the illegal knee. So yeah, I kind of was hoping that he would get his ass beat, but he kept saying the whole time that he wasn't himself in that last fight, and that he didn't say what was wrong, but he pretty much said that he wasn't himself and he's capable of a lot more and shit. And obviously we know what he's capable of. Like his most impressive wins when he choked out Corey Sandhagen when they fought like super early. Like he takes his back almost immediately and chokes him out, and I think that's how he gets the title shot. So I know he can do that, but in that fight against Peter Yan just looks so dominant, like on the feet, that I didn't think Aljamain Sterling was going to be able to get him down, because he wasn't able to get him down in that first fight. So, but man, he definitely proved us wrong. He was a completely different fighter. The first round is like pretty much the round that decides the fight. That everybody was pretty much saying that decides the fight. Everybody clearly gives the second and third round to Sterling, and then the fourth and fifth round to Peter Yan. And I rewatched that round this morning because of that, because everything I was reading, everybody was pretty much saying that. And I thought that Sterling, won the first round, or he could have won the first round. But after watching it this morning, I think Peter Yan clearly wins that round. So it's not super dominant, but I think he definitely wins that round. So there's I think he won 3 rounds. I think it's just also the way that Sterling won those 2 rounds that he won.
Yeah.
Were more dominant. Like he was in a super dominant position. So like I said, the first round I think Peter Yan won, and then the second round Sterling gets a takedown, and it's pretty much Yan's mistake. He is trying to rush to get up, and he gives up the back basically. And Aljamain's one of those guys that he finds that back really quick. Like it's fucking crazy how he just gets on there. He had the body lock really really quick, and I think he had like 3 minutes on the ground to work. And he wasn't able to get to submission. He was trying. That's the only thing that I was kind of, disappointing, that he wasn't able to get it after, seeing what he can do. I guess it's got to be credit to Peter Yan, too, that he was able to defend, because when he got Corey Sandhagen in that position, he choked him out pretty quick. And he's, and that's pretty much his best position. That's, if you ask him what position would you, what's your best position and what would you want to be, he would say on the back, So... Yeah. That's his strength, the jiu-jitsu. He's like a Renzo Gracie jiu-jitsu black belt. So that was pretty much the story of the second and third rounds. Pretty much the same shit. He takes him down, has him in that dominant position with the body lock on the back, but isn't able to get the submission. Peter Yan, he normally starts, it takes him a while to get started. He usually, starts slow, makes his reads and early in the rounds, and Sterling did a really good job of not letting him do that. So he didn't, he wasn't able to really gain that momentum like he usually does, by the, second, third round. So in the fourth and fifth, he definitely turns it up a little bit, but you can tell he's uncomfortable. He kind of has to force it a little bit, and on the feet, Aljamain isn't very good. He was a little slower, and obviously he was slower in the later rounds, so he wasn't able to, move out of the way of some of those punches. And Peter Yan definitely, in my eyes, definitely won the last 2 rounds. So. Yeah, kind of a controversial decision, I guess, because Sterling ends up getting the decision win. I don't know. Peter Yan said that he won the fight, and that he wants a rematch. I didn't at the time hearing him say that. I didn't think he won, and I don't really care to see a rematch, especially when that division has
Yeah.
so much talent. T.J. Dillashaw was there, and that's pretty much who everybody was counting out. Sterling is pretty much saying that T.J. Dillashaw and Peter Yan was going to be next. So Aljamain calls out T.J., who's in the stands, and that's probably the fight that's going to happen. That's going to be interesting. That should be a really good fight, man. T.J.'s super veteran. He's been champ 2 times now, 2 separate times. So he coming off a really good performance, but also coming off like a major injury. I think he tore something in his knee. Oh yeah, right. Sandhagen in that fight in the first round, he had him in like a knee bar, and ripped some tendons in his knee. So that should be a good fight. I kind of feel bad for Peter Yan, but Peter Yan's only 29 years old. He's still gonna be around. Like I said, that division's stacked, so there's a lot of people he could fight, and he could see Sterling again. I just don't know if I want to see it right away. But congrats to Sterling, man. He definitely proved me wrong. I didn't think he had it. Like, he did it. No excuses, nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did that shit. And then we're on to the main event. This was also a big what's it called? Like uneven odds. Volkanovski took on the Korean Zombie. Volkanovski was a heavy favorite. So this fight was supposed to be with Max Holloway, and it was announced, and then like a couple of days after it was announced, Max Holloway had to pull out because of an injury, and then a couple of days after that, they announced Korean Zombie's gonna step in and take it, and then like a week after that, or maybe a little bit more than a week, couple weeks, Max Holloway says, "Oh, he's good to go now." And he would like to be the alternate for that fight or whatever. So that was kind of weird. Volkanovski kind of said how like he doesn't even think that fight was ever even gonna happen for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like, he was pretty much alluding to Max never really signing the contract and then kind of just pulling out of it. Who knows why? I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, a Korean Zombie, 35 years old, fighting out of South Korea. Volkanovski, Australian, 33. He's 24-1. I didn't know this, but his only MMA loss, the one, is at middleweight. He fought at 185. Because I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him, but he before he started fighting, he did rugby in Australia. So he was like over 200 pounds at one point.
Wow.
Like, he was one of those like short, super stocky rugby players.
Yeah.
That was his build, and then he pretty much went from middleweight to welterweight, and now I don't know if he ever fought at lightweight, but now he's at featherweight. So that's pretty crazy. So yeah, this is definitely the best I've ever seen him. Like, against the fights that he had against Max Holloway were super close, and that seemed more of like a strategic win, like the ones against Max Holloway. And this one, he looked like a totally different guy. He looked like a killer. He kind of looked like a mini Israel Adesanya, which kind of makes sense because they fight out of the same camp. They got the same head coach. So like, that's exactly what he looked like. He just looked super calculated and like super sharp. The leg kicks, he just couldn't miss with anything. And the Korean Zombie is known for taking a beating and keeping the pressure up. But man, this is a pretty bad beating. I think it was first round wasn't too bad, and the second and third round he started beating him up really bad. After the third round, Volkanovski kind of looks at him as kind of like you want to keep doing this? Like, it kind of reminded me of that the last Lomachenko fight when he said the same thing to who was that? To Tagoe. He did the same thing to him. Like, you sure you want to keep going? Yeah. He kind of did the same thing to him. He was like, all right, and you can tell Herb Dean was like looking really closely at the Zombie after that in that fourth round, and then it just took like one more big combination. Volkanovski hit him with another big 1-2, like clean in the face, and Herb Dean just stops the fight right there.
Yeah, good stoppage.
Yeah, really good stoppage. Zombie was taking a beating. Kind of sad for him. That was his second time fighting for the title. He actually fought Jose Aldo for the title like almost 10 years ago or something. So that would have been a great story to see him win it. But Volkanovski retains the title. And he pretty much calls out his whole division. He's like, he feels like those guys don't want to fight each other. Yeah, he's like, I feel everybody's waiting around, like trying to wait for a title shot. And he's like, he pretty much said that if nobody wants to fight each other, he's just gonna move up. He said he feels comfortable where he's at now to move up to lightweight.
Yeah.
So that'd be really good, man. That'd be really good He said he's interested to see what happens in the next lightweight title fight with Charles Oliveira is going to defend against Justin Gaethje. So I would definitely like to see Volkanovski move up. It's interesting because like he's obviously really short. So he's even short for featherweight, but he's a pretty big guy or husky guy. So yeah, I'd definitely like to see him do that. Because at featherweight, besides him, he got a couple guys coming up that like he has nobody that's waiting. There's nobody waiting for that title shot really like that deserves it. Besides Max Holloway and Volkanovski didn't seem super. Even before he didn't seem super excited about that fight. I think he's just doing it because he knows that's pretty much the biggest fight he got, but doesn't seem very interested in it. But I'm excited to see him move up, so that should be fun. But yeah, that was pretty much it. It was a pretty good card overall. I don't know if it was just the fact that they all went to decision or what, but I felt like that card lasted a lot longer than usual.
No, I think you're right. We were up super late.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all good though because the week before was very lackluster.
Yeah, word.
So we kind of needed that. So yeah. What's on tap for next week is we got the Errol Spence versus your Dennis Ugas fight. That's it's gonna be on Showtime pay-per-view. It's gonna be in Arlington, Texas. I believe that's the Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
That is this coming Saturday rather. Yeah. And then the week after that, you have Tyson Fury taking on Dillian White.
Oh, that's coming up quick.
Yeah. Also next Saturday, you have Conor Benn taking on Chris Van Heerden. With Alicia Baumgardner on the undercard, taking on Edith Matisse.
Nice.
The Spence fight has some pretty good undercard. It has Butaev taking on Stanionis. Isaac Cruz taking on Gamboa. We just talked about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Francisco Vargas taking on Jose Valenzuela. Josecito Lopez on the card. Good stuff, man.
Nice.
And then coming up in the later we have April 30th, we have Shakur Stevenson taking on Oscar Valdez. Also, Katie Taylor taking on Amanda Serrano. Canelo Alvarez taking on Dimitri Bivol, May 7th. Week after that, you have Jamel Charlo taking on Brian Castano, the rematch. Javante Davis taking on Rolly Romero 2 weeks after that. June 4th, Kambosos versus Devin Haney in Australia for the real undisputed lightweight title. And we have a date for the Alexander Usyk Anthony Joshua rematch, July 23rd.
Nice.
So can't wait for all that.
Word.
Some good boxing coming up.
And then this Friday we got a Bellator card, Bellator 277, April 15th, Friday. AJ McKee takes on Patricio Pitbull, the rematch after AJ McKee took the belt from Pitbull. That should be a really good fight, man. Featherweight title fight. I'm excited for that one. I'm definitely gonna try to catch that one. And then also on that card, there's a light heavyweight title fight. Corey Anderson is challenging Vadim Nemkov, who's the light heavyweight champ. Corey Anderson, former UFC fighter. That should be a good fight. And then on Saturday, we got a UFC fight night on the 16th. Vicente Luque taking on Bilal Muhammad. I'm surprised I haven't heard them talk about this fight at all, I think. But this should be a pretty good fight. Top welterweights. I think they're both in the top 5 or right around 5. So that should be a pretty good fight. So that's that week. April 23rd, there's another fight night. Amanda Lemos taking on Jessica Andrade. That should be another good one. Amanda Lemos coming off that real big knockout. I forget who it was, but she had a really impressive knockout in her last fight.
Was it Angela Hill?
You know what? I think her last fight was Angela Hill. I don't think she knocked her out, but it was a good performance. I think the knockout was before that one. But yeah, I think her last fight was against Angela Hill. And then this is the one I really can't wait for. April 30th, bantamweight fight. Rob Font taking on Chito Vera. This should be a really good fight, man. I think this puts Chito right up there. I mean, I think after if he has a good performance on this one, he'll probably still need one more fight for the title. But it's just exciting to see him get up there. I've been following him since he started, and Ecuadorian fighter. Like his story is so dope, and love watching that guy fight. And then the next pay-per-view is May 7th, UFC 274.
Why do you always got to go against Canelo, man?
What? Oh, there's the same night, ain't?
Same night as Canelo.
Charles Oliveira is gonna defend against Justin Gaethje. That's gonna be a hell of a fight. It's hard to count Charles Oliveira out against anybody at this point. Like he can very easily choke anybody out. Gaethje, even though they always say that he has a wrestling background, he never uses his wrestling. And even defensively, like, I mean, obviously it was against Khabib, but Khabib took him down and submitted him rather quickly. Rose Namajunas is also fighting on that card against Carlos Esparza. That should be a good fight. That's a rematch fight. Esparza actually beat Rose the first time they fought. I think it was like the finale for their whatever season it was for the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And that's when Esparza became the first strawweight champ. So this is a good chance for Rose to get that loss back. And then also this is gonna be a great fight. Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson. Damn, fucking Shogun Hua is still fighting. That's crazy. He's gonna be taking on St. Preux. Yeah, man, a lot of good fights. And then they also announced for UFC 275 is gonna take place in Singapore. Singapore, is that how you say it? That fight, or a fight that was added to that was Zhang Wei Li and Joanna Jędrzejczyk 2. A lot of people consider that. I think easily the best women's fight ever, and arguably one of the best just UFC fights period ever. That was a hell of a fight. So I'm excited to see that rematch. Yeah, man, a lot of fights coming up. Anything else that you got?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Whole lot of action coming to you guys, and we here to bring it to you.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week. Once again, my name is Manny.
My name's Alberto.
This is the OnlyFights podcast, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.